Welcome to The Point, a podcast by Apex Benefits and dedicated to employee benefits thought leadership. You can find more episodes for free on iTunes by searching The Point or Apex Benefits. Please rate, review, and subscribe to be the first to know about what we have in store for you. To learn more about Apex Benefits, please visit our website at www.apexbg.com or find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Let's get to the point together.
Welcome back to The Point, Fort Wayne. I'm Kassee, Lamm with Apex Benefits, and today I'm joined by Amy Torrez with Paul's Place. I'm so excited to be recording this episode and have our listeners learn more about Paul's Place and everything that you do for our community. So could you just take a second and tell me a little bit about you and maybe how you got to where we are now with Paul's Place?
Sure. Thanks, Kassee. I so appreciate you asking me to be on here, or allowing me to be on here. This is great fun. Any way to get our story out and get more people aware of what we're doing is just always a good opportunity. My experience with why I started Paul's Place came from my own personal experience with my father, Paul. We spent 6 months in temporary housing down in Houston. I had just graduated college from University of Texas in Austin, and he lived in South Texas, but he had to go up to Houston for one. He would get his regular heart checkup, so it wasn't out of the ordinary for him to say he was in the hospital in Houston. But at this time, he had said he was sick, wasn't feeling well, and ended up, said the doctors wanted me to come out for the weekend. So I get there. He told me he had been diagnosed with lymphoma based off of the anti-rejection medication he had from his heart transplant, almost 10 years before that. So, we always knew there was health issues we had to worry about, as far as keep track on with him. And when I got there, when I talked to him, the doctors were not very positive of how things were going to happen. So they said, let's just see what happens this weekend and go from there. So he made it through the weekend. He went 2 weeks and gained enough strength that now they're like, hey, he's doing well enough. Let's try chemotherapy. There's really nothing to lose at this point. So I'm staying with a family friend at this time who has got an apartment there right next to the hospital, so I could walk there. So it was great location. But he was a med student. He was going through finals, so it was like, I don't want to interrupt him. I don't want to, be a burden. And I knew sometime, if my father gets well, he's going to come out. So just in talking with the ICU nurses, they understood that we both were not from Houston, and they said, well, we can do something a little bit better for you than a couch, basically. So they the next day they came back with a set of keys and an address, which actually was on the other side of the apartment complex I was already at. And they said, this is your temporary apartment. It's provided by a church organization that helps families in your situation where they don't live here but are getting treatment here, long-lasting treatment. So I moved into the apartment. My dad was still in ICU, and so this place was a matter of, or it was a place that I could just relax, just kind of get away from everything that was going on, just to kind of release any kind of emotions that I had, whether it was sadness or anger, just depression or whatever, just to kind of get through that and then go back for my dad the next morning and be strong. I was there 12 hours a day basically with him, just, keeping him company, watching TV, just deep conversations. I really, go back and think, oh, it was a great time, even though it was a horrible time. You know what I mean? So, so that provided a little bit of solace for me. And then my dad continued to do well. So now they're like, oh, he can be released from the hospital, but he can't go back home yet. So as long as you guys are still staying in a temporary apartment, we can release him to there. So now he had a place that he can call, somewhat of a temporary home, where he had his lazy boy chair he can watch TV from. I could cook him meals. Was kind of, I still had to clean his port and all that, but it was just a matter of, it was somewhat normal, to be in a place where, even though you're going through treatment, it was a place that he could definitely relax a little bit more. So after, I'd say about 6 months, the scans were clear with lymphoma. It was looking great. I was getting into an apartment that I was going to, be in my name. I was relocating to Houston, and the day I was moving into that apartment, he ended up passing away of a heart attack. So all that treatment was good in the sense that it took care of the lymphoma, but unfortunately, it was just too much for his heart. So yeah, the nurse, the doctors and the nurses, they were just devastated just as much as I was. The nurses came down from the ICU down to the emergency room, and they all hugged and they all cried with me. Sure. and kind of went from there.
Had the emotions with you.
Yes, yeah. They definitely had the emotions.
And your dad was also one of the first people in Fort Wayne to have a heart transplant, correct?
He was. Okay. He was actually the 52nd heart transplant in Fort Wayne. So that was in 1990. I don't know if anyone remembers when Lutheran Hospital was on Fairfield Avenue. Right. Now that's the park there, or at the Lutheran Foundation. But that's where he had his transplant. So yeah, it was quite a while ago. So so this whole happening was 1999 to 2000. Okay. So he was 2 months shy of having his heart 10 years, basically. So. Wow. That in itself was a big deal.
Absolutely.
I think they gave him 5 years after his transplant to live after that transplant. So he had all kinds of miracles that he was fighting, and in the end, it was just the fight was just too strong, too much for him.
Yeah. So obviously, your experience led you to creating Paul's Place. Mm-hmm. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about what is Paul's Place here in Fort Wayne?
Sure. Paul's Place here in Fort Wayne, what we do is we provide the temporary housing for adult patients and their caregivers as they travel to Fort Wayne for medical treatment. So if they're getting chemotherapy from Parkview Cancer Institute, if they're getting treatment from the VA hospital, if they're having surgery at Lutheran, any hospital here in Fort Wayne. It doesn't have to be a specific hospital. Okay. We're in communication with their case managers or whatnot, or social workers or chaplains. Then that's how they would get in contact with us. Then we provide that temporary housing for them. There is a 3-month limit. If there's no wait list at the time and they still need room, then it's kind of like, okay, we'll continue as long as there's someone, not someone else here on the waiting list. So we've been fortunate enough to, we started housing our families in March of 2017. And at the end of last year, 2019, we provided over 2,600 nights of comfort for our families. Wow. So we have corporate leased apartments right now. It's a 2-bedroom, 2 full bath, and a 2-car garage. So
makes a big difference in Indiana.
Yes, a 2-car garage definitely helps. Even in the summer when it's hot or when it's raining, the driveways will still get slick there when it's wet. So that's one thing I wanted to make sure that we had for our families, is that they didn't have to worry about the weather as they're getting in and out of their vehicles. Right. So they have the conveniences of a home, just as their regular home, if not even better. Right. That they have the kitchen they can cook in. They have a laundry. They have not a laundromat. They have a washer and dryer. Sure. That they can wash their own clothes. They have one of our apartments overlooks a pond, so they can see the geese and watch the geese grow up too. I know that's one of the favorite things that some of our families have mentioned, that they love watching the geese grow up when they were there. Right? Yeah, new life. So it kind of gives them a better outlook, puts them in a good environment where they can kind of have a better headspace for themselves.
Well, like you mentioned, when you were in the temporary housing in Texas, I mean, just being able to go back to a place, release your emotions in a safe space, and then also what you guys do, I think, is amazing, is, I mean, it's fully furnished. There's couches, beds, towels, linens, everything. Food to cook, and it's just, it's awesome. It's so awesome. So you have 2 spaces right now. Looking forward, is Paul's Place looking to expand to other rooms or spaces or apartments down the road? Yes, we actually are just starting a collaboration with Children's Hope House.
They're allowing us to utilize 3 of the rooms with the St. Joe burn units there in St. Joe Hospital downtown. So as we know, the St. Joe burn unit went down south to Lutheran, so that space was empty most of the time. So they said, hey, we know you have a waiting list, and we sometimes put overflow patients here. Would it be okay if you use our space too? Yeah. So we're working. It's a great opportunity. Melissa reached out and kind of talked to us about that, and I just she just has a great heart, and I just love that we're not, even though we do the same thing, we're not competitors. We definitely help each other. We collaborate. We brainstorm together on different things, or we're sounding boards for each other. So I love that the nonprofit world here in Fort Wayne definitely it's definitely a very positive environment.
Sure, so. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about how you get on the waiting list, or how does that process look if someone's coming to Fort Wayne and wants to be a part of Paul's Place?
Sure. If someone's coming here, a lot of times their case manager is scheduling things out, several weeks in advance. If they have their case manager contact us, we've had families come through American Cancer Services of Northeast Indiana, even the volunteers at the Ron McDonald House. They will call us or have the families call us directly. Social workers, they're inside the hospitals, the financial workers, or even the chaplaincy.
Okay.
That's kind of who we kind of keep in contact with, just
Sure.
as make sure that, yes, they're still getting treatment there, or we haven't heard from the family, family hasn't checked in a while, making sure everything is going okay on the family's end.
Right.
So that's how they would get in contact
Okay.
with us, or just calling us directly, and then I'll ask, okay, who are you working
Right.
with? So, but
Okay.
yeah, our website is out there, with the phone number and everything to
Right.
contact us.
So it's free for the families that come and utilize the space.
Well, actually, we ask for a $10 per night minimum donation. But if they still can't afford to do that, that's okay. We're still going to allow
Okay.
them to have temporary housing. I know I couldn't afford even $10 a night when I was for 6
Right.
months. There was no way I could do that. So we understand. We with these medical issues, medical crisis. That's a huge financial burden. So we work with them. We've had some families just pay $10 a week. We've had families that just couldn't pay anything at all, or one family had their church made a collection, and they donated that money to us. So, in the family's name. So, but it is a minimum $10 per night
Okay.
donation, and 90% of our families do that or more.
Sure.
So we definitely appreciate that.
So we as a community can support Paul's Place financially. Can you speak a little bit to like the donations per night and how that structure looks? So if I was going to donate to a family for a week or a night, or what's that structure look like?
Sure. We actually have a sponsor night campaign that we're kind of going to kick off in early February this year. We had to pivot and kind of do one this March with everything that's happened, but I think we're going to make that a set thing every year.
Awesome.
But we have a sponsor night campaign, so you can sponsor a night for a family for just $49, and we can announce on social media or on our website, this night is sponsored by, Kassee, Lamm and their family, because in honor of their loved one,
Right.
Jane Smith, or so to speak. Or if it's your birthday or an anniversary date, we have families that do that.
That's so cool.
So you can sponsor a night for a family, you can sponsor a week. It's $350 for a family for a week. And there's other, different other options they can do as well. We also have had smaller companies, like small local companies, do paper drives for us.
Oh, okay.
So the employees will collect paper towels, toilet paper, Kleenex, even like Windex or fabric softener or laundry detergent, because that's one of the services we provide.
Right.
They'll just collect all these things, and then at the end of the month they'll give it to us. We'll donate it to us.
Wow.
So that's always helpful, because we do provide everything. We provide the cooking utensils, the cooking, the paper products, the laundry detergent, the linens are all there for everything. So that's definitely an expense that we have to maintain to make sure our families are comfortable.
Sure. So I have been privy to see one of the videos that was a success story of a family that stayed here. But can you just speak to our listeners a little bit about the great word that you get in return from the people that come and stay
Sure.
utilizing Paul's Place?
Yeah, sure. I check in the families, and usually I check them out when I come in, and even some of my kids have been with me when we've checked in families, and every time it's hugs and tears. I'm tearing up too, because they're so relieved. It's one thing they don't have to worry about. They've got a million other things. They're literally fighting for their lives sometimes, and housing should not be an issue for them.
It shouldn't.
So this is what we provide. So it's gratitude and relief.
Yeah.
In that video you talked about, it was a lady in her mid-40s, stage 4 cancer, and she had teenage kids still. So her and her partner kind of split time with the kids. One stayed, some of the kids stayed 1 week with her partner, and the other stayed with her for the week. And so on the weekends, they'd all come down and just sightsee.
Yeah.
If she felt up to it, they went sightseeing. They went on walks on the park trails, which are just absolutely beautiful. They, walked downtown just to see all the new stuff happening. They went to like somewhere close, like, Channel Lakes or something. They just did something together. So it was, she says her first night there, when her son was there with her, they watched movies and they had pizza, and then they went out and looked at the pond and the geese there, and they said that was the first day that her diagnosis was not part of their routine.
Oh, wow.
It was a way to be normal again.
Right.
And that's what I felt when I was with my dad. It
Yeah.
was, a way to be normal and not have diagnosis be, top
Right.
of mind all the
Not
time.
have it define you in every single moment every day.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So when you can relieve that stress, and when you can be somewhat normal again, then it really just helps your immune system, and it really just helps the holistic aspect of
Right.
the treatment, and it just helps the treatment go along so much better.
Absolutely. So obviously COVID put a damper on your amazing fun Grammy night this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll do that next year in person.
Yep.
But you guys did such a good job of pivoting, and I feel like that's been like the theme word of the year. So hopefully everyone likes Friends, right?
Yeah,
The-
pivot.
Pivot. But obviously we as a community can support you through sponsoring a night or a week. And then watching out for the Paul's Place golf outing, which I was so lucky to volunteer for this year. It's just so cool to see so many people come together and really, raise money for a cause that we may not need right this moment. But who's to say in the future you won't come across that need?
Sure.
And so it's been really cool to be a part of and be surrounded by and learn more about Paul's Place as I've gotten to know you. And so other than sponsoring a night and a week, we'll make sure that we keep looking out for opportunities to support Paul's Place in the coming months and year.
Sure.
Well, we'll include a link to your website and
Sure.
the Facebook page so people can reach out to sponsor a night or a week.
Yeah.
And obviously we want to encourage people to continue to support Paul's Place, and I just appreciate you being on the podcast with me and
you.
taking the time to speak about Paul's Place, and you can feel your passion for Paul's Place. It's amazing to learn with you, and I feel like every time we have a conversation I learn something new. And so thank you so much for being with me.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You can find more episodes for free on iTunes by searching The Point or Apex Benefits. Please rate, review, and subscribe to be the first to know about what we have in store for you. To learn more about Apex Benefits, please visit our website at www.apexbg.com or find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Let's get to the point together.